Hey everybody, Matt here. Thanks for stopping by. In today's video, we're going to continue looking at the Bladerunner blade guides. To loosen the motor, what we're going to do is loosen 5 socket head screws. One here, one here, one here, and one here, using a 5mm Allen wrench. Okay, now the motor is loose. I hope you can see it wiggling around there. So the motor's loose. You can see the blade guides right there, and I've got a blade installed. If I try to move the motor, you'll see how much the blade moves relative to the blade guides. So if you find that your blade guides don't seem to be positioned correctly relative to the blade, you might want to loosen those 4 bolts and try and adjust the motor position. For my machine, right about there seems to be about the right position. Another thing to keep in mind is the rear of the blade rides on this back bearing here, which is part of the motor assembly. My motor's still loose, that's why it kind of jiggles around. So the blade rides on the back bearing right here. So as you're pushing the wood, the blade has something, sort of a backstop. So I tightened up the motor bolts and I put in a narrower jigsaw blade. This is like a scrolling blade. And you can see where my bearings line up with the surface, the flat surface of the blade. It's a little bit away from the teeth, so that's good. And yet it still is able to capture the blade there in the event that it wants to wiggle around. Excuse the duct tape here. I'm just using the tape to hold the steel plate that the bearings are mounted onto. Just trying to use the tape to keep the plate, the mounting plate, in the proper position, so you can see where my bearings ride relative to the blade. So if your bearings don't look like this, if your blade guides don't look like this, you might want to consider loosening those 4 bolts they showed you underneath and try and adjust the motor position so that you can get your blade guides to look like this.